Our loved ones shape our vision for the world. So when their vision is at risk due to
Get 3.9% APR plus $1,000 purchase allowance on most 2024 Cadillac models when you finance through Cadillac Finance.
Hello, world. Hello. Good to see America, Earth.
Hello.
The underworld, even.
Ooh.
Welcome to Hawkwind's Radio Picture Show. My name is Jack Dwyer.
And I'm Jay Smooth.
We have an awesome show for you guys tonight. Me and Jay were kind of feeling festive. A lot of people are starting to get their Halloween decorations out. So what we're thinking of doing is having a whole Halloween spectacular show today that we could talk about some cool ideas on Halloween, the afterlife, some ghost stories. Be sure to tune in and stick around for the ghost stories. That's, I know, going to be one of my favorites. One of my favorites is the story of the lady in gray from the Eastland disaster. So be sure to stick around, and we're going to have a lot of fun today. But first and foremost, Jay, what's happening, brother? What's new with you?
Shit, man, not much. Well, actually, kind of a little announcement. Tomorrow we have a cool show at the Fallen Log. So there's a couple touring bands coming. Foxtrot is coming, and Death Dance is coming. And my band, The Skies Are Shifting, is going to be opening the show tomorrow at the Fallen Log at 7:30. So don't miss out.
And where can the folks find that? The Fallen Log is in what neighborhood again?
It's on it's like on Diversey and like a little bit passing Western.
Nice.
Ish.
Accessible via CTA, and ride safe, folks. Ride safe. That's what I'm saying.
It's gonna be a fun time, so everybody just have a good time. Come by, say hello.
Sweet.
Come say hello to one of the hosts of the Hawkwind's Radio Picture Show.
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, I won't make it that night, but you break a leg, brother.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be a fun show.
And
for
tomorrow
you guys.
morning we have Foxtrot here in the studio, so they're gonna be fun to interview. Oh yeah,
Cool.
yeah, they're one of the touring bands coming.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I'm excited for you guys. This should be a fun show. And where are they coming from?
Oh man, they're gonna hate me, but I have no idea.
I thought you told me before. Somewhere, I don't know. But that would be cool, man. That would be cool. Break a leg, have fun at the show, dude. Don't get too cray though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think our last episode was kind of cool. It was talking about the ins and outs of performers, putting your acting hat on and rocking and rolling, and knowing when to take it off and have a nice healthy come down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hope you have a healthy come down, dude. I just got you some good edibles.
Oh man.
What are buds for? Am I right?
Hell yeah. Got some good edibles. It's gonna be a good show.
Yeah, dog. Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Oh, yeah. In the spirit of Halloween.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know, is Halloween your favorite holiday?
I would say it is. It's one of my favorite holidays. I think my favorite holiday is Christmas.
Yeah.
Only because my birthday is right there.
See, I think that's why I like Halloween so much, because I'm an October birthday. I'm the 15th, so I'm like halfway to Halloween kind of thing for October. So I get a little too into it. I get a lot too into it. But I think it's fun, though. You know, we were talking earlier of the importance of talking about Halloween, and sometimes it's a morbid holiday. You know what I mean? It's a weird thing to idolize death in such a way. But it's also, I think, a good reminder to people that we only have one life, and that life is very fragile. And in a way, it's a cautious reminder. It's a safe reminder to be safe out there. But it's a cool thing. I mean, Halloween's kind of changed so much throughout the years. I mean, we're just talking before we got on the air here that a lot of Halloween traditions started in pagan culture. And a lot of that was kind of wiped out in the history books, but also with other, holiday, with other ethnicities, Dia de los Muertos. It's that's another beautiful celebration of death.
I feel like they all have their versions of Halloween, I guess, and pretty much just honoring, the dead. I guess that's become a normal thing in like human society, just honoring your dead.
Yeah.
There's actually, and I forgot which Asian culture does this, but they dig up their dead every. I don't know if it's every year, but they dig up their dead every so often, and then they just hang out with. They just have them in their house and hang out with them, and that's their way of honoring their dead.
Yeah,
I
it's
forgot,
wild.
man. I wish I knew.
I think I remember seeing that. I think it was Indonesia or something.
Was it in? I don't. know.
Perhaps. I know what you're talking about, though. It's a wild thing, and death should be a celebration in a way. It might be morbid to some people, especially like being an outsider and you look in on certain death rituals. One of my favorites, dude, is it's a kind of a cool subject for people to talk about, of having your own living will and how you want to go out in your funeral. If you want to have like a Viking funeral where they push you out into the water and they get flaming arrows and they light your boat on fire and explode it, or a Tibetan sky funeral. Have you heard about these Tibetan sky funerals?
What's a Tibetan sky funeral?
So, you know me, I'm a winged creature myself. It's a ritual that like kind of originated in Tibet. A lot of different cultures have some sort of thing like this, where they will bring the dead body to like an open field area.
Bring out your dead.
They do that though. They bring them out, and they you can have like a beautiful display. You can have flowers around the person, but essentially they would ring a bell. They'd ring a bell, and all of these vultures would come flying in.
Bring out your dead.
And these vultures come in and they swoop down and they eat the person's body.
Jesus.
So like people get cremated all the time, and you just you're going into ashes. You're kind of mixed with other people's ashes, but I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings on that. But the idea with a Tibetan sky funeral or any other kind of organic funeral in that sense is that your energy goes back into the earth again. So you're feeding these Vulcans, or you're feeding these large animals that are coming to eat you. And it adds back to the universe. On my will, dude, I got a cool one. I was reading into a living urn. So a living urn, it's a cremation, and then they can turn your body into like a pod. It's like a seed pod, and then they can like turn you into a tree.
Oh, I was reading about that. Dude, that's fucking cool.
They're pretty sweet. And there's other ones now too that will break down in mushroom form. So they'll make these coffins that are full of like mushrooms, and the fungi will break down your body in like 2 weeks or so, and then you can just get like planted in a forest. Or
so you go from becoming a fun guy to a fun guy.
Yeah. That'll be on my tombstone. I like that.
That's true.
Eat me.
Eat me. Went from fun guy to a fun guy. Eat my shorts.
Eat me. How do you want to go out, man? How do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to go out? So back when I was a younger kid, me and my former bandmates, we all decided that we want to explode on stage and turn into ashes. So
Spontaneous combustion, nice.
Yeah. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I'm probably gonna drink way too many Celsius, and my heart's gonna explode or something, and
That
then
does
or not Celsius. I'm sorry, Celsius would never do that to you. Drink Celsius. Or yeah, and then I don't know, man.
What about your funeral? You're gonna have a
parts
party?
of me wants to have like a open casket funeral where like people can see me, but I also don't want people to see me dead.
Because that's an interesting thing too. You know what I mean? To go into like see a dead body. You know?
Yeah.
That's why I like the like the mushroom funeral, or like you know what I mean? Like, I'm not here. Don't look at me dead. It's kind of a creepy thing. I remember being a kid and getting dragged to like funeral homes, and like I didn't even know the person, but my mom's like, you better like be on your best behavior because there's a dead body, and like you got to go in and like do the prayer. But it's an awkward thing sometimes if you don't know the person, or if you're just a kid, Yeah.
It's a lot more traumatic when you know the person, because that shit sucks.
Sure.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of funerals, like close friends and stuff. Shit sucks, dude.
And you need that closure.
You kind of do.
I mean?
Like it's the last time you ever technically see them before, you know what I mean? Because you're not gonna go dig them out 6 feet under.
Sure, unless you live in certain parts of the world where they do that, and that's okay. We are.
Well,
the
yeah,
world.
if like their whole society agrees that it's okay to dig them out every so often, and then you put them back, why not? But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's still a very I wouldn't say traumatic, but well, I mean, in some cases it could be traumatic to see a dead body, even if it isn't a funeral.
Sure. Sure.
And I mean, well, actually, I'm going to say in most cases, if you're not prepared for it, it will be a traumatic thing to see.
Right. Well, no one prepares anyone for that. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's a heavy thing to see.
Right.
But in lighter news, it's okay to talk about death. It's the one thing that it's inevitable for everybody. It's going to happen no matter what. And I think sometimes it is okay to talk about. It is okay to sometimes joke about it too. There's a lot of horror comedies and stuff like that out there. I think Halloween's changed throughout the years though. Like I was saying, it started with the pagan tradition, and they're trying to wipe out my people's culture and not allow that turn into other holidays. But it started at all different parts of the world, and it's kind of evolved throughout the years. Back in the day, people would wear like the weird like rubber masks and stuff like that you would like get. You can have like paper made ones and stuff like that from the newspaper, which are all like super creepy. But I think
like the paper mache ones.
yeah, the paper mache, and people were maybe a little more creative then with costumes too. You know what I mean? They didn't have Party City where you could just go out and like buy a costume.
True.
So people got pretty thrifty with them. Do you have a favorite costume you ever grew up with?
For 1 year in Halloween, I was a ghost. My my sheet ended up being really pointy. Just kidding.
No, not good.
No, I'm just kidding.
My mom starched it way too much.
That was a South Park reference.
Sure. Halloween is always fun. I thought Halloween was really cool in the 90s where like, and it's kind of changed now. I think in the 90s, and people are still making costumes today, cosplayers especially, like it's a really big industry. But I thought the 90s was interesting because it was a time right before the easy costumes came out. You know what I mean? Like you can go to Party City and in the 90s and like get a costume, but people are still making them. But like, I think people now have gotten so lazy with costumes that like, they'll just like wear a onesie and they're like, I'm a bear.
I feel like
I'm guilty of being that, but for certain parties.
I feel like capitalism has gotten more advanced, and now they're just thinking about creating every single costume ever available so that because people will buy it.
Yeah.
Whatever costume out there, they will buy it.
Yeah. Or make your own. I was thinking about 90s, being a kid in the 90s in Chicago around Halloween, how cool it was. And people always joke that like whatever you were that day, you would like your parents would, maybe make your costume or like buy your costume, but you'd be like, I'm Spider-Man with a jacket on. But
dude, I hated that. Like when Halloween would fall on a very cold day.
It always does.
Sucks.
You're in the Midwest, dog.
Well, I mean,
now, thanks to global warming, it's warm and
sometimes
chicks' booties are hanging out.
Sometimes it would fall like on a nice day, and you'd be able to wear your costume out at least throughout like the sunlight hours.
Right.
Sometimes
Gotcha.
it'd be like cold throughout the whole day, so you have to wear like a jacket over. I fucking hate that shit.
Right.
Wearing a jacket over your costume. What kind of bullshit is that?
Gotta stay warm. You know what I mean? But then sometimes it's nice to like predict stuff. I know if I'm gonna be outside or whatever, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be Gambit, and I'm gonna have this like long jacket or whatever it may be. But
I'm curious to see what the new generation is gonna take Halloween to. Now with like the whole COVID thing and everything, like I want to see what their version of Halloween is. I'm
sure there will be some pretty cool, I don't know. People are sensitive now these days. You know what I mean? We should make Halloween great again. Mugga. Mudda. Make Halloween great again. Here's where I think we went wrong, bro. So we grew up in the 90s. Do you remember this noise? I'm gonna play for the mic. Make Halloween great again. Oh, not that. This. You remember this?
I think so.
Dog, with the spinning ghost. They stopped making those
What
For-
the hell?
whatever reason. But I just remember being a kid in the 90s and like every other like house on the block you'd walk by and this like ghost with like paralysis was just like shaking convulsively.
True. I remember that. Did you ever go to haunted houses as a kid?
Yeah, I like haunted houses. I love haunted houses. I love big fan of I'm a big fan of haunted houses. I love them all. I think they're really cool.
What's your favorite haunted house?
My favorite haunted house. I'm drunk.
You ever been to the Joliet prison?
I have not been to Joliet prison, but I have been to why am I drawing a blank right now? I was just watching their stuff the other day. Hell's Gate Haunted House.
Oh,
I'm a
true.
huge fan of Hell's Gate Haunted House. It was really cool. I do a lot of like music video stuff behind the scenes. So that's where we got that one gig at.
Shout out Blink 182. Shout out Millennium.
It was Millennium and Tom DeLonge.
Shout out Tom. Whatever.
Yeah, no, we did that music video there at Hell's Gate, which is such a cool place. Hell's Gate is really like they're kind of at the forefront of it, maybe the best in the Midwest, arguably. But they're so cool, and the guys who run it are really cool. What's cool about working the music videos though is like you can go through the haunted house and not be terrified of somebody around every corner.
True.
So you can actually like appreciate the artistry that goes into all the set design, and like they have like smell triggers and they have like certain things that will, just like add to the ambiance of it. So
Yeah, I remember you got me a gig over there. That shit was pretty cool. It was a couple hours of us just running through a field, and then once the music video came out, all you could see from anyone was just people's feet running.
well, you weren't an extra, but you were in a large group. That was a cool shot though. It was
pretty cool though. Yeah.
and that was in their paintball area. They have a bunch of those like trashed up cars and stuff. It's a cool spot. Shout out Hell's Gate.
Yeah, and then everybody there like was pretty cool to work with. They're
Yeah.
all, they were all part of the Hell's Gate like haunt or whatever, right?
Yeah, a lot of
Most
the
of
guys
them.
were. Yeah. Aaron. They were really cool dudes. But I love haunted houses. They're fun. I think I'm tough until I get through like 3/4 of it, and I'm just like, no, I'm a big wussy. I can't do this anymore. I flinch up, dude. I was like this halfway through it. You go to haunted houses regularly? You like them?
I wouldn't say it regularly, but I do like them.
They're fun. I'm getting tense just thinking about it. You're cool. You're tough. You're dark. You're edgy. But yeah, man, they're fun though. But I like them. I like them. They're a good time. What other scary traditions do you like to do outside of that?
Scary traditions. Let me see. Well, I know in Hispanic cultures they do a lot of sugar skulls for the Day of the Dead. And
Do
then
you ever?
and then you ring bells, and then you ask them to bring out your dead.
Do they have people ever bring them out? Bring them out.
No.
How do you even dispose of a dead body? Now I don't even want to know the answer to that. Anyways,
Well, you take acid and just kidding.
there's the dead body guy.
You ever seen Breaking Bad?
Dog, I have. I get it. No, man. There's a lot of cool, scary traditions throughout the world, though. Like horror. What am I trying to say? Horror tourism is a really big thing. Like you were talking about areas where they will literally bring out dead. There are people that will, in certain cities, do like reenactments of deathly times in our history. In Chicago, there's a huge industry for it, for dark tourism.
Is there?
Totally. This Chicago is the most haunted city in the Midwest. Maybe outside of Gary, Indiana, but
Of course.
Chicago's super haunted. Is it cool if I share one of my favorite ghost stories with you?
Yeah, hell yeah. Which one is it?
So this story is the story about the Lady in Gray. And the Lady in Gray is, well, she's a woman from the 1915s. Let me restart that because I said that really weird. The Lady in Gray was a woman in 1915 when she died. And let's take you back to 1915 to the Eastland disaster, which happened in the Chicago River, which is the largest maritime disaster in Great Lakes history, apparently. So the Eastland disaster, it was in 1915, just 3 years after the Titanic had sank. So as you can imagine, people were kind of on like high alert for boat safety. And to get back a little bit further to the construction of the Eastland. So the Eastland was this large boat that they would take around Lake Michigan. And when it was being built, it was competing to be one of the fastest boats out on Lake Michigan. So, pre-Titanic days, they were overlooking a lot of things. Oh, we don't need lifeboats. We don't need this. We don't need such a great ballast system. We want to make this really light so we could just like haul it back and forth over Lake Michigan to Michigan City, Indiana, actually. And they would go back and forth. So again, overlooking a lot of safety standards. Titanic happens, and again, boat safety is on high alert, and all of these boat experts were telling the owners of the Eastland, like, hey, you probably shouldn't take that many people out on the water. Like, this isn't very safe. What if something happens in the lake? And they were like, no, it's fine. We'll keep running it. And it ran for a lot of successful years. And on one day in 1915, the boat had flipped over onto its side in the Chicago River. It happened right in front of the Murdoch building, which is that like red brick building with the clock tower on it. And the boat had flipped over onto its side, right? And in doing so, it trapped a bunch of people inside of the boat itself and caused a lot of other people to like drown in the river outside of the boat, right? And during the event, over 844 people died, including 22 whole families, meaning like father, mother, all the kids. 22 entire families died that day. Jesus. 844, which is about, I guess, a little under 3 times as much than the Chicago fire killed, which is kind of like strange that people don't know about it more. So what happened was the boat flipped over. Again, a lot of people were like caught in there. People were freaking out. 1912 was when the Titanic sank. This is 1915. So people are panicking. It's sheer panic. And not only did people get caught under the boat, but while they were trying to like swim away, people were like kind of drowning each other. And one of the really sad things is that women's style back in the day, they wore those dresses with the large petticoats, that big poofy stuff, flopped out like a cupcake. And imagine that submerged in water, though. It's a fishnet that you can not get out of. So women were literally drowning inside of their own dresses. And people were, wearing their best clothes. It was for a company outing for Western Electric. And yeah, there was the first boat to go out on the day, to go across the lake to Michigan City and back. And it didn't even leave the dock. It was sitting at the river, flipped over, and all those people perished. Before I get to the Lady in Gray, a cool story about somebody who was supposed to be on the boat. It was the first boat leaving for the day. A Chicago historical figure with the name of George S. Halas. Does that ring a bell, Jay?
George S. Halas.
George Halas of Halas Hall and Bears. The founder of the Chicago Bears was scheduled to be on that boat that morning, but he was partying, I believe, at the University of Chicago the night before. So he was too hungover and he missed the boat. But he witnessed like the aftermath of it after he got up there. And so anyways, you know, over 844 people died, and that's a lot of people. You know what I mean? You have to kind of figure out the mess, the situation. So they brought a lot of bodies into the Murdoch building, that brown building, or the reddish brick building that's right in front of it. And obviously it's just a huge number of people that perished. So they brought a lot of other bodies over to a near West Side armory. That near West Side armory was, you know, used left over from the war, and they were just using things in there. Anyways, that building later on got torn down, but later on became Harpo Studios. Are you familiar with Harpo Studios?
Yeah, it's Oprah's old place.
You're goddamn right. Oprah Winfrey owned Harpo Studios on the same lot where that armory was.
Jesus.
Do you know it's there today?
What?
Today, you'll find the McDonald's headquarters at that location.
No way.
If you want a Whamburger and some French fries, it's a spooky place to be. So the Lady in Gray story happened with Oprah Winfrey. And, there might have been ghost stories before her stories came out. But again, that armory was essentially a morgue for people to, find their loved ones. And when Oprah was at Harpo Studios, they were saying that they would hear footsteps, they'd hear like kids running in the hallways, and there would be nobody there. Security footage picked up like ghostly images. And I believe it was in like the mid 2000s. I don't really know exactly when it was, but I believe Oprah called the Ghostbusters and they got the ghosts out of there.
They really?
Yeah. They called in a paranormal investigator. And they did a show on Oprah for the Lady in Gray, but they just and they did an episode on it, and I think they kind of busted the ghost, if you will. And they never talked about her ever since. But yeah, when it was Harpo Studios, they used to make rules that you couldn't work alone after a certain time. You couldn't be unattended without somebody with you in the building because of its hauntings. And the figure would show up as, again, a woman in a large petticoat dress, in a 1915s dress. Yeah, it's a very spooky story. That's why I think it's my favorite. Also because my dog Harpo and Oprah Winfrey. But yeah, Chicago's got a lot of really spooky history behind it.
Dude, that's scary, man.
I mean, you want me to keep going on some stories? I got a gang of this shit, dog.
What's the second scariest story for Chicago?
I got a couple. One that's kind of cool that not a whole lot of people know about was the Ghostbusters thing. Is that when the John Hancock building was getting erected, there was this architect with the last name of Khan, Khan, and people believed him to be like a spiritual dark arts person. Mm-hmm. And are you familiar with the term feng shui? So feng shui is the way that energy can flow through a building, through a room, whatever it may be. When Khan was designing and building the John Hancock Center, which gets skinnier as it gets taller, which is like an optical illusion. It's a point perspective, makes the building look taller. Mm-hmm. But all throughout the building, there are triangles, right? Triangles are, statistically speaking, the strongest shape, structurally speaking. And if you look all the way up the John Hancock, there are a bunch of triangles that go all the way up the top. And people claim that these triangles kind of add up like the pyramids, and it's a flow of energy that goes to the top. They were making the John Hancock Center, I believe it opened in the late 60s, early 70s. And at that time, Guess who was living around Chicagoland doing some like cool comedy stuff? You're goddamn right. You're talking about you're gosh darn right, because I can't say can't put the Lord's name in vain on this.
Not the Lord.
Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd of Ghostbusters was, I believe, performing at the Second City when all this was kind of coming out about the John Hancock Center. And you know, the movie Ghostbusters, the building itself is a power source for Zool to rule up on top. So it was like a direct influence to inspire Ghostbusters, was the John Hancock.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where was Ghostbusters filmed?
New York.
New York?
Well, New York and a lot of backlot in LA. I was reading this thing about Ghostbusters. They were saying that the rooftop scene, a lot of that was filmed in a backlot studio. But they were saying at the time, I think it was like the largest indoor studio in the country at that time, because they had to like recreate all of New York as a miniature set from below, which is kind of cool.
You ever have any contact with any ghost?
Yes. Yeah. I like to keep in touch with my demons. If I don't, the demons come and keep touch with me. So, no, man, I firmly believe in ghosts. I know they're real. I was just reading this thing earlier too, that they were saying that at an earlier time, the ghostly realm and the earthly realm, there wasn't such a wall in between it. There was kind of fluidity, and you can kind of like see the gaps between. I think that's a thing. I think a lot of people are kind of getting tuned out of it with distractions and whatnot. But yeah, I totally believe in ghosts. I've seen things fly off walls. I've seen ghostly figures. I've heard ghostly figures. Can I get deep with you, dog? When I was a kid, we had a ghost in my house, right? So a lot of the neighborhood that I grew up in, parts of it were like Native American burial ground, right? And there were reports that people were digging up like horse skeleton remains around the area, and so we we have this house, and we're family in Chicago in the 90s, and I remember we had this like in our basement there was this door. It was like a workroom, right, and with like a sliding door, and the workroom was kind of like next to this, like how like a cement driveway, like the cement has to come down like wicked far for it to go down. It was over there. But anyways, in this room that was in there, every so often we would have this like figure that would show up, right? It was this like pale figure. I thought was Native American, because I remember as a kid I called him Tonto. I thought he looked like Tonto, you know what I mean? From the Lone Ranger. And at first when I was a kid, I was like, maybe I'm just imagining this. And then my brother saw it, my sister saw it. I just had my cousin over the other day, and she's like, I had this weird dream about your basement the other day, and I saw the ghost that I saw there. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm like, just lay on what you know about it, Crazy. And she was just like, yeah, she's like, it was, a long-haired person, maybe Native American descent. And they were like, and she's like, they were never like meant harm or anything. Like you'd have that fucking scary feeling. You're running up the stairs, getting out of there. But like, they were always just kind of like, they didn't really want you there. And yeah, dude, we've had TVs turn on and off, radios would turn on and off, shit would like fall off the shelf unprovoked. So I totally believe in ghosts. I mean, I'm a religious person. If you believe in God, you believe in the devil, you believe in the afterlife as well. And I think sometimes maybe the afterlife, there's a spectrum to it,
True. You can either come back as a tree or come back as a ghost.
Right.
When I was little, I used to live in an apartment building, and this lady died in my room apparently, like right before or a couple of years before we moved in there, and she would listen to this like very specific like Mexican radio station, and when I moved in there. One time I went into my room, and keep in mind nobody's been there for a minute, and I had one of those little like like those like clock radios or whatever. It was like clock, but you can also switch the dial, and then it'll turn into like a radio station. Every once in a while, I would go in there, and the clock would be on the radio function, and it would be into that specific radio station that that lady would listen to back in the day, like.
Whoa.
Yeah, that shit was scary.
She had a favorite radio station, yeah.
She had her favorite radio station, and every once in a while, I would go in my room, and that clock would just play that radio station.
Do you know how she died?
Some sort of like heart attack. She died in that room is a thing. Yeah. Like some sort of heart attack or something. Like she died there, and like that's where the paramedics went to go find her. And then a couple years later, my family moved in there, and guess who got the room? There's some serial killers here in Chicago, man. Some famous ones that from like back in the day.
Yeah.
One of the most famous ones, I think, H.H. Holmes.
H.H. Holmes.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. Devil in the White City. Crazy thing.
He had like a whole fucking like killing dungeon, whole killing building.
It was located at 63rd and Wallace.
Fuck, dude.
In the Inglewood neighborhood.
Shit.
Some people will argue it's more dangerous now than it was then.
I believe that.
Yeah, dude. Well, the foundation is still there. It's the post office that's in Inglewood is where the actual location is. But I think a lot of the foundation was stayed put. That's a creepy story, dude. H.H. Holmes. Talk about having just a murder mansion. Everything in there was designed to trick people. Had gas lines going into rooms.
Bunch of booby traps and shit.
Yeah, staircases that led nowhere. What's kind of fucked up about that is that it was a crime for its times because the World's Fair was going on and so many people were just mindlessly going to the city, and like they didn't like it wasn't like it is now, you know what I mean? You can't call your parents and be like, "Oh, I just got to Chicago, everything's great," you know. These people like would just go, maybe send a letter home,
which will get to them in like a week.
Yeah, or a month. It's still fucking drawn by a horse, dog. But it was scary, and I think he took advantage of a lot of really vulnerable people that were unable to alert folks. Yeah, it's a crazy thing. H.H. Holmes. Yeah, John Wayne Gacy's another creepy one too. I was thinking about the Chicago River, and I think a lot of killers throw bodies in the river.
Well, I mean, even like last year, there was a bunch of people getting found in the river. There was, even to be said, there was a serial killer killing specifically males in like their late 20s to early 30s was the age range that they were getting killed from, or something like that.
Yeah. Picking them up in parts of the north side.
And there was a report of this one dude, they would see like, just like the images from like the city, fucking like
cameras, the
city cameras
CCTV,
or whatever. Yeah. So they have like images of like this dude going into like some sort of like fried chicken place to like eat, make an order, coming out, and then some dude following him, and then the dude was just never seen again. The next time they saw him was like they found his body at the river.
Whoa. Yeah, it's crazy, and they were going after a certain type too. It was like young white dudes, late 20s, early 30s, dudes that were like probably pretty drunk, walking home from like the bars up there.
That was the biggest thing, yeah. So like most of them were probably like a lot of them were known to be like party people, so they probably were fucked up going home.
Right. You know what it is though, dude? And I've done a lot of research on that I'm not going to give them a name, but I've done some research on what they think it is. But a lot of it is people who will claim to be a rideshare driver. they'll say, "Hey, where are you going? Let me give you a ride or whatever." Somebody's drunk, doesn't think twice about it. They're like, "Sure." They hop in. It's as easy as somebody having chloroform, throwing it over their mouths, making them pass out. Because what's fucked up about it is the autopsy on these guys. They didn't drown. When you drown, you find water in your lungs.
They were already dead when they were thrown in there.
Correct.
That's fucking wild, man.
Yep. So, yeah, it's a thing. So all you dudes out there, be careful. Go home with your homies. Don't take rides from strangers. Your mama was right. She still is. Yeah, that's a crazy thing. But the river's always been kind of a thing where bodies would kind of wash up, or it's always been a thing. Yeah, and even with the I was reading this thing about the Eastland disaster to kind of touch up on my knowledge on it. People were claiming that there were like ghostly figures floating in the river still till this day at that area. But people claim to see that all the time, where there will be like a head floating in the water or like an arm. But like, it also might just be a body. It might not be a ghost. It might actually just be a body, because that sadly happens regularly. Yeah, it's a crazy thing. And that's not something to fuck around with. And it's always been a thing in Chicago. Like all these killers. John Wayne Gacy was doing that shit in the 80s. That was fucking crazy. I remember watching that documentary, and they did it was the Gacy tapes. And it was startling. It was so freaky. I mean, talk about a guy who was like a public figure in a way in his community, but just like being the biggest sleazeball. I have a theory on him. I think there were other guys around Gacy. I don't think it was just one guy. They found 33 bodies at his house in Des Plaines.
Jesus.
And found. That's what they found there.
So there could have probably been more.
There were more.
Shit.
What's fucked up about Gacy is that he was a part of this construction crew. And this construction crew was, some people claim that there were other guys that were in on it, that were doing this fucking sick shit to these young men. And if you're a construction guy, like you're pouring concrete for somebody's house or whatever, or throwing bodies in there and just pouring concrete right over it, dude.
Yeah.
These guys, they didn't give a fuck. But and there was a weird link too. There were all these other killers that were happening a bit later. I want to say it was in like the early 90s. I forgot what the name of this group was, but they were targeting women, and they were doing all this like sick shit. Like, I'm not gonna mention. I don't know if I can mention on this on air. Look it up though. It's fucked up. But they were stalking these women and killing them. But they were a part of this construction crew. Like these dudes who like had this van. Like it was just like a weird coinky dink that like they were a part of this construction crew. So it's scary, man. I mean, if someone can get away with murder like that and then just throw it.
I forgot what the percentage of unsolved murders in Chicago is, but it's really high.
It's high.
So like there's a percentage of like murders that have like people just did and nobody has done anything about.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking crazy. Like they just got away with it.
Right. I had a thought about you're talking about your apartment with the dead body there, and and we're speaking of real scary people, we were showing, I showed Jay my Citizens app earlier, and we're looking at perverts in our neighborhoods. And, I was thinking, what if there was a thing like that showed you it was a dot system? So every time somebody died somewhere, there was like a dot. You know what I mean? We're in this room and it's like, somebody died here. Somebody died here. But like a city like Chicago would just be fucking covered.
Yeah.
covered in it, you know?
Yeah, it's true. I used to live in the hood, and gunshots would be a normal thing every single day. So yeah, that's so like you would literally just be at home just watching, whatever Netflix show you're watching, and then all of a sudden you just hear pop 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 pop, and it was crazy because in that neighborhood that was normal.
Mm-hmm.
It sucked.
Yeah. That's scary, dude. It's anxiety ridden too.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps you up at night, man.
Yeah.
What are you most afraid of?
What am I most afraid of?
Yeah.
Failure. I don't know. I'm most afraid of giant spiders. I hate giant spiders.
Thank God you live in Chicago.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to Australia and live there.
Oh,
Fuck that
hell
shit.
no. So you're afraid of giant spiders. Note taken.
How about you, man?
I'm claustrophobic. I'm incredibly claustrophobic. If I'm caught in like in a tight area where I can't move my arms, so it scares the shit out of me sometimes. Like I can like sit in a coffin or whatever. But hey guys, let me out. Let me out. That's what freaks me out, I think. And I think it stemmed because when I was a kid, I was building an igloo at this empty lot by my house after a big fresh snowfall. Yeah, dude, the igloo just like fell on me and I couldn't move. And I was like 6 or 7. And I was like, this is it. This is how I die.
So you're claustrophobic? What if you got chosen to be the next Svengoolie? You'd have to be in the coffin all day.
I'd be okay with it. That opens. It's the idea of like I could be in a phone booth or something, but like when I can't move my arms, that's when it's scary. When I was at the Blackhawks celebration in 2010, I was on right up on Michigan Avenue, and I had like 2 million people pushing me from behind, and I was like right up there. Dude, that to me was scary because I was just when you're that crammed in. But I could be in a coffin. I could be in a coffin.
You think so? What
Death is comforting.
What was the? Because I know you auditioned to be the next Svengoolie.
I did. I auditioned. It was cool. It was a cool experience. I learned a lot about it through myself. I learned how cool the show was. Svengoolie has been around since I think 60s or 70s. It started with a guy named Jerry G. Bishop, and Svengoolie's gone through many adaptations throughout the years. And
what was your experience like auditioning for it? How did you even hear about it?
So I watch Svengoolie every week. I'm a diehard Svengoolie fan ever since I was a kid. I watch Stoojapalooza. I watch a lot of MTV. I'm into all of that. And
wise guy, eh?
Yes, actually. And I was watching it one night, and maybe was it there that I saw it, or maybe on Instagram or something. They were like, "Hey, we're auditioning for the Spawn of Svengoolie. Like, if you're a fan of Svengoolie, send in a video submission and tell us why you are the Spawn of Svengoolie." And I made a really quick video and I posted it to my Instagram, and it was cool. I think I was very charismatic. I claimed that him and my mummy met at Transylvania Beach in 1642, and that surprise. But yeah, it was fun. I made a very fun video. I didn't have like any costume pieces for it. You know what I mean? I was kind of just like, I just had what I had. And it was cool. I got a call back many months later. And, but in between that, it was really cool because I met a lot of other horror hosts. The art of being a horror host is a really cool art, and it's been around for many, many years. and there's a lot of cool horror hosts that are doing stuff on like Instagram and YouTube right now,
Like Elvira.
like Elvira, but like even like smaller folks who are doing it like on their own YouTube page. Scara, the Damsel of Distress, she's out in Austin, Texas. Dario, he's a really cool dude. Shout out Dario. Me and him, I always hit him up on Instagram. He's a really cool guy. But yeah, I met a lot of cool folks who were doing it. Didn't hear back from them for a while, and then I got another audition. They were like, "Hey," they were like, it was funny. I think my name fell through the cracks on it or something like that, and I didn't get an email back immediately. And then what it was is I think I messaged them. I was like, "Hey, I'm just checking here's my resume. I'm looking for a job." My all the old people tell me this is how to get a job these days. And I was like, I'm just curious to see how the audition process is going. And then they got back to me a little bit later and they're like, "Oh my God, like, how did we like breeze through that? Like, we'll get you an audition." I got on, I did an audition with them on St. Patrick's Day.
Nice.
And it was cool. I did the audition. I had to introduce the Chucky movie. And I wrote my whole like opening thing on the Chucky movie. But not only that, I'm a millennial looking for an entertainment job. So if anybody out there is hiring, I'm working hard for it.
The next Svengoolie.
I was trying, dog, but so I was talking to my dad about it, and I was like, how do you stand out for something like this, And he's like, I just read this thing that this woman was trying to get a job at a bakery, so she like baked a cake and then put her resume on the cake. He's like, why don't you try to do something like that for Svengoolie? And I was like, say less, I got you. So I went on Amazon and I found these wooden coffins, and I painted my own Svengoolie coffin on here, but I gave it a little bit of my own flair. I had later went on to buy this hat. I found it on Facebook Marketplace, and I put some bones on it, but don't you call me a bonehead. And I made my own Spawn of Svengoolie case. And I got some notes in here. And I put my resume on the inside, and it lights up. Kind of cool, right? So I was really gunning for the job, dude. I was I put my little rubber chickens on the side too. I was really gunning for it. I've been watching Svengoolie ever since I was a kid. I love everything Halloween. Didn't get the part, unfortunately, but that's okay. I think the casting that they went with is really awesome. The folks they got are really cool. Nostalgia Veratu, who does the cartoons Sunday morning. There is Gwen Gooley. Gwen Gooley is very cute, and she also
now they got like a whole cast, right? It's not just Svengoolie anymore.
That's right. They hired 3.
Chickens.
Yeah, so they hired 3 extra Spawn to come into the show.
That's wild.
Yeah, Gwen Gooley's cool. She's got a lot of cool background doing a lot of work at like Universal Studios and stuff like that. She's super cool. And then there's Imp. Imp is the new character on the show. He's a Chicago guy currently. But yeah, they made some really awesome casting. I think they opened it up so it can be kind of a more inclusive crowd too. You know what I mean? Like Svengoolie's show in its sense is you're walking out right on me right now, bro.
Yeah.
Jay's gotta take a leak. I swear, you have the bladder the size of a walnut. Berwin. Well, I see some people are out there still watching. Hey, folks, if you're there, leave me a comment. Let me know what's going on. I got a comment here from Deadeye 22167. Wadu guys, hooray! Halloween is coming. Damn right. I laugh. If we figured out a homemade costume, it'd be a non-politically correct hobo. Heard that. Yep, my buddy Rich from Vala and the Villains. Good to hear from you, Rich. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Oh, Marley Tomlinson, thanks for tuning in. Marley, what's your favorite Halloween costume? What's your favorite? Rich is saying, watch horror movies every day until the 31st. What are your favorite spooky movies? Oh, man. You know, my favorite spooky movie, I think, has got to be... I love Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's maybe one of my all-time favorite horror movies. But when I was a kid, I was really into Tales of the Crypt. Tales of the Crypt 2 was a really good one. I was really into the Crypt Keeper. I thought that was super fun. It's a super creepy puppet. I love them all. Obviously, The Nightmare Before Christmas. I think because my name was Jack, I fit in with both the jock crowd and the Hot Topic crowd, which was fun. Shout out to all my Hot Topic folks out there. But yeah, no, I also love I love the movie Child's Play, the Chucky movie. That was always a really fun one. That was always kind of on TV, and they'd edit out a lot of it. And I remember tuning into it, later on when I was a kid. I'm like, sheesh, I can't believe they were about to show that to kids. But again, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate the love. Shout out to Marley. Shout out to Rich. Good to hear from you guys. But yeah, the Svengoolie thing was cool. I was glad to audition for it. I even went to this is kind of a funny story, Jay. I really wanted the job, and everyone always says, if you really want the job, like, maybe you just got to show up and just knock on the door and say hey, I'm looking for employment.
Did you go to 26, the studio or whatever, channel 26?
I wish I didn't make it in there, but I did go to C2E2, the comic book convention here in Chicago.
Is that where you saw Svengoolie?
Svengoolie did I ran into him there. And I also ran into him at Soundgrowler Brewing. That was kind of a funny story because I sent in my audition. I didn't hear from him. And then I knew he was doing an appearance at Soundgrowler over, I think, in Tinley Park. And shout out Soundgrowler, great place. And it was a funny story because there was a line out the door because Svengoolie's a popular guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, there's a line out the door. And at one point they were like, we're going to have to cut the line off. It's too long. We can't have this many people. And I had just made this and I was like, I got to give it to Svengoolie. So I was with my girlfriend, Jasmine, and she's like, we came all this way. She's like, she saw the disappointment in my face and she's like, let's try to get you in, So we went to the bathroom and the girls' bathroom was up along the line. Right. And, I remember I went to the bathroom with her and I was kind of by the line. And I just I asked this random couple. I was like, hey guys, I'm like this. I'm like, I really want to see Svengoolie, I'm like, I made him this. I'm like, I'm auditioning for the thing. I'm like, if I get it, I'll totally get you guys comp tickets or whatever it may be. And they were like, yeah, for sure. Go for it. So they let me get in to see him when I thought I wasn't going to. Mm-hmm. But he's a man of the people, Svengoolie. He's going to comic book conventions. He's doing signings at breweries. He does a lot of great work with Brookfield Zoo. One of my first times meeting him was at Alternate Reality. It's a comic book shop over in Mount Greenwood where I grew up. So, nice. No, Svengoolie's great. He's a Chicago icon. He's a man of the people, and he loves his fans. So.
And so you had to do a thing for the Chucky movie. Yeah.
Do you want me to read it? I had to write an opening, an opening to a horror show. And I got to pick any movie I wanted, and I was like, as a Chicago historian, I'll do Chucky because it was filmed in Chicago. There's a lot of cool iconic places that they shot at, and I wrote this entire this script, and I still have my notes.
Why don't you read it for us, and then tell us the historic places that took place in the Chucky movie?
All right, I could do that. Our movie this week is the 1988 horror classic Child's Play, directed by Tom Holland. Follow along as we show and tell the story of an on-the-run serial killer named Charles Lee Ray, also known as the Lakeshore Strangler, who uses black magic to reincarnate his soul into a good guy's doll named Chucky, which single mother Karen Barclay buys secondhand for her son Andy on his 6th birthday. When Chucky kills Andy's babysitter, the boy realizes his doll is alive and tries to warn people, but nobody believes him. The next day, Chucky convinces Andy to ditch school and ride Chicago's CTA Pink Line southbound all the way to go settle some unfinished business. After the pals commit public urination and arson, young Andy is placed on timeout in police custody, then eventually institutionalized for continuing to blame Chucky. Later that night, Karen finds out the doll truly is alive when she realizes the batteries were still inside the box. Some assembly required. So she must convince Mike, a Chicago police detective, of the murderous doll's intentions before she or Andy become Chucky's next victim. All the while, Chucky learns he can only release his soul from the doll by transferring his soul into Andy's body using voodoo magic. It's a bad boy toy story so iconic, it continues to pull children into the horror genre with its merchandising. You'll find it a hot topic. So no returns, no haggling, give the lady what she wants, and as always, no personal checks. So all you good guys and ghouls, please enjoy Child's Play. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
But it's a really cool movie though. If you're a Chicago film buff, go back and watch Child's Play. I mean, right from the get-go, it's cool. You know, there's the shootout scene with the gangsters in the beginning with Johnny Lee Ray, Charles Lee Ray, and it takes place on Jewelers Row, which is kind of cool. Are you familiar with Jewelers Row on Wabash?
Kinda.
So it's on Wabash. It's technically underneath the L, on the east side of the loop, and Jewelers Row was the street of Wabash that led up to the old Jewelers building, which was, you know, back in the day, people would go in and they'd, you know, buy priceless jewels, and they would leave going down Jewelers Row. And there were a lot of different like murders, there were robberies, because that's where people were going to buy jewelry and stuff. So the opening scene where Charles becomes Chucky in the toy store, it kind of is like a cool little nod to Chicago, that like a lot of like murders after merchandising had been happening on that street for many, many years.
Wait, did that take place in that street?
The opening scene did, yes.
Okay.
So the toy store that Chucky was from, because Charles puts himself into Chucky, the good guy's doll, using voodoo magic. He's like about to die, and he's like, he puts his life into it. So in the movie, a man picks up the Chucky doll, and he, you know, tries to resell it. He's a homeless guy trying to resell it in the city, and Andy's mom, Karen, works at formerly known as Carson Peary Scott, which is at State and Madison, right at the city center of Chicago. Currently today, that building is Gothic Target. You know, Gothic Target with all the cast iron on the front, all the black on it. So Gothic Target is where Chucky's mom worked. So in the movie, when she buys the Chucky doll in the alleyway behind the store, that's an alleyway off of Gothic Target, essentially.
That's wild, man.
The actual film location, I think, was the alleyway off of Jewelers Row. But like, if you're looking into the, you know, where she worked, it was in one of those alleys there.
Where did Andy go to school?
Let me see my notes. Ida B. Wells. Andy went to Ida B. Wells School, which it was near West Side School, right?
I think so.
What neighborhood's that in? Ida B. Wells
Somewhere
School.
downtown.
But that was the school that Andy went to. The train line that Andy and Chucky go to, that's 43rd and Halstead. It's a pink line. That was also featured in the show Shameless. And
I love Shameless.
it's a great show. Great show. I'm trying to think what other ones there are. Yeah, Wabash, 418 South Wabash was the location of the Playland Toys. What other ones? Oh, so the building that Andy lived in is pretty cool. That is called what is the name of that building? So the building that Andy lives in, him and his mom live in, it's called the Brewster's Building. And the Brewster Building is still in Lincoln Park till today. The address is 2800 North Pine Grove Avenue. Again, it's known as the Brewster Building. Apartment 8C was the apartment that they were up on the 8th floor, again in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. I believe there's a bus that drops off like right in front of there for anyone who's trying to go check it out. The inside of the building, though, is really cool because it has this like glass and skeletal frame on the inside. So when you walk in, do you want to pull up a photo of it? It's kind of cool. It's a skeleton frame interior. So there's like, cast iron that's exposed, but those like glass bricks that people use for like basements and stuff like that. They essentially had that along a lot of the guardrails of the building. Again, it's called Brewster Building, Brewster. Brew is in beer, stir is in stir. Our friend Marley is funny. She said she once went to a Halloween party with an ex. He was Bill Clinton and she was Monica Lewinsky. Oh.
Is that this building?
Yes. Can you type in interior?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brewster Building interior. But yeah, that's the building. It's still there. And again, Andy and his mom were living up on the 8th floor, and yeah, the babysitter got pushed out the window by Chucky. Not only that, the movie Running Scared with the Wayans brothers was shot there. Apparently there was a chase scene when they were all wearing their long underwear throughout the building.
Oh, this one right here?
Yeah, that's it. That's the exterior. Can you type in, can you look up interior?
Let me see.
Yeah, it's a cool building. I had a friend that lived there for a while, and it still looks like it was back in the day. When was the movie shot? The movie was released in the 80s. But yeah, a lot of it looks still the same. The elevator has like it's like an exposed interior elevator. It's really cool. Yeah, yeah. Which made it really creepy because imagine a little 3-foot doll running around inside of there. So like the floors had to be like illuminated and kind of showing of the doll itself too. And the filming of it was really interesting too. They used they did use little people as actors from time to time. And then a lot of it was animatronic puppetry. What you working on?
I'm trying to show the screen right here. Let's see if it shows.
Our buddy Rich is saying The Thing, 1982 version. That was a good one.
That was good too.
Is that with Kurt Russell? I think Kurt Russell was in that.
Oh, got it. All right. So.
Got it. Cool. So that's what it looks like, you guys. All the glass was there, so it could be kind of ominous when you see this little doll scurrying around at 3 feet high. He's lower than the handrails then.
That's the interior.
Yeah, and a lot of the lobbies hasn't been changed. There are days that you can go in there too. I think it's closed to the public, but if you have a friend that lives there, or Chicago does a lot of the open house days, which I think are coming up now. If you haven't been to Open House Chicago, check it out. You can check out inside of a lot of really cool historic buildings. That's one of them. But yeah, it's a sweet building. It's really cool.
And that's the Chucky building. Right?
That's the Chucky building, yeah. That's the Brewster building. I'm trying to see if I had any other notes on that. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was it. I think one of the cool parts though too is Carson Peary Scott with the Gothic Target. It's kind of cool because that's also where window shopping started.
Really?
Yeah, it was the first building to ever like put their products out on display in a window case. Was Carson Peary Scott.
When did that start?
That was 20s, maybe. No, teens. Probably earlier than that. I don't really know. It's a good question. Hey Siri, when did Carson Peary start?
Carson was formed in 1968.
68? Well, I'm sure it was a building before that. But, yeah. Any other Chicago stuff you want to talk about? I still got a couple more up my sleeve if you want.
I just want to point out the Joliet prison.
Yeah, that's apparently super haunted.
Yeah. Joliet prison. I did a movie there one time. I was PA for it was called Hell's Half Acre.
Cool.
I remember my buddy Chris Stone, he got me that part.
Shout out Chris. We had
I
him on the
forgot
show.
who the director was, but they had like a $100,000 like movie budget or something like that. But it was fucking dope.
Cool.
But all I had to do was just turn on the lights on and off, and just to make it seem like they were flickering.
Yeah. Good PA role.
Life of a PA.
Yeah.
You'll either be doing that or you'll be doing something extremely important.
Right.
But let me see if I can find a cool like shot of that.
Yeah, prisons have got to be haunted. You know, what do you think causes a ghost to become a ghost? Do you think it's like unhealed trauma from Earth?
Probably, yeah.
Something that they might need to like resolve before they're able to let go? Some people say that ghosts are in purgatory. Some also argue that we're in purgatory right now. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I've never met God.
That's part of the prison right there. But there are some like rooms where you could still see like because that place has been shut down for a minute, but there's some places where you can still see like all the ex-convicts like stuff and shit.
Yeah.
Like really old mattresses and whatnot, and like just like some like jail, like whatever they would wear.
Mm-hmm.
Was kind of creepy.
You know, their energy has got to be staying in stuff like that. You know, people are like, oh, it's a haunted doll. It's a haunted toy. Like, energy's got to get caught up in that kind of stuff somehow.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
But
Like, stuff just gives you the willies. In Chicago, they got this right on State Street by the Chicago Theater. There's the Medieval Torture Museum.
oh, dude, yeah, I freaking love that place.
You've gone?
I went there one time. It was dope. Tickets aren't that expensive. They're
They're
like
not.
$40 or $50 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
I was watching a video on it the other day. I've been wanting to go to it, but man, some of that stuff gives you the willies because, like I said, it's sometimes I think people's energy can get caught on things, even, you know, after they're gone.
Dude, yeah. Here's some images to show you guys what kind of torture they had. Oh, let me see. Fuck. I hate the internet.
There were some fucked up ones. Do you have a favorite form of medieval torture?
It's one where they have like two planks like that, and they kind of put you in the middle and kind of like slide you through.
Oh
So you
yeah.
kind of like cut your buddy in half.
Ugh. From the bottom up. Sheesh.
Yeah.
Ugh. That iron bowl one got me. That one, it's like a bowl made of iron, a full-on bowl form, and then they'd start a fire under it, and they'd throw people inside of it, and as the person's like kicking and screaming, like their flesh would be burning off, and their steam would shoot out the bull's nose and the eyes. That shit's fucking crazy. Whew.
This is the one I'm talking about, I think. Yeah, look at that shit, bro. That fucking crazy.
Oh my god. Dude, I would just want to die right away.
Have all this shit there. Oh, look at that one. They just fucking dunk you in like fucking boiling water or acid or something.
Oh my god.
It's fucking crazy.
You know what's another real crazy one is the rat trap one, where they'll put like a rat in a bucket and they'll put it on somebody's belly, and then they'll like heat up the bucket and the rat will crawl into the person's stomach.
Because it's trying to escape from the fire.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
Oh man. Ugh, you didn't like rats already, Chicago. Sheesh.
Anyways,
But-
that's Chucky.
That's
But
creepy.
yeah, fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, Chicago's got a lot of really creepy stuff like that. I mean, for, being a place that has a lot of murders, I mean, it kind of just happens, you know what I mean? Where they say is actually the number one most haunted location in the entire Midwest, if you're like pinpoint an area? A lot of people will claim that the Congress Theater on Michigan Avenue is.
Really?
So the Congress Theater, or not Congress Theater, my apologies, the Congress Plaza Hotel. If you go to the Congress Plaza Hotel, which is like right in front of the Spearman and Bowman statues, that big white one with the red neon sign up on top, that one apparently has the most sightings in the entire Midwest. Like actual confirmed sighting with the paranormal. Ghost tours will go through there a lot.
Is that where H.H. Holmes killed everyone?
Maybe, you know what I mean? Like arguably, perhaps, but or at least lured them back. But a lot of people have died there. There are claims that like a butler was killed there, and his arm will like be in the closet and will like reach out at you. But the most haunted room of them all, I believe it's room 441. It happened when this woman came to America to start a new life, right? And she was coming to Chicago, and it was her and her kids, and she was like waiting for her husband to like come to the city, like meet them up there, and they were gonna like meet up and then start a new life together. And the husband never showed up, and this woman was so distraught that she threw her children and then herself out of the 4th story window, like on the corner. And people say that her room is still haunted till today, that you'll go in that room and like the bed sheets will get pulled off of your bed. Like her image will like hover over you. And if you don't tip, no, but for real, it's super haunted.
You better tip.
Leave a good tip. But yeah, that's haunted, and apparently a lot of mafia activity had gone down there as well, which is a whole other spectrum of horror in itself. Yeah, it's a super spooky building. If you ever get a chance to go in it, you should. It's a cool building.
What building was it?
It's the Congress Plaza Hotel. Yeah, it's right on Michigan Avenue. Even when you're at like the Adler Planetarium looking at the skyline, you'll see it.
This motherfucker right here.
Yeah, it's right on Michigan Avenue. It's not that boat. It's yeah, it's right on Michigan Avenue. You can't miss it. It's white in color.
There you go. Boom. It's that one, right?
Yeah, it's that guy.
Boom. Most haunted hotel in the city of Chicago.
And for the Midwest, for that matter.
I know where I'm booking my next trip.
Yeah, dude. I mean, aside from the ghost, it's a beautiful view of Grant Park.
True.
You're right over the Spearman and Bowman. Those are my favorite statues of the city too. But yeah, it's a cool hotel. But there's some other haunted locations. I don't know if this one is necessarily haunted, but it's kind of gruesome. Have you ever heard about the circus tragedy that happened here in the Midwest?
What was that?
So it was back in the day. I want to say it was like the late 1800s. There was a traveling circus that was coming to Chicagoland, and back in the day there was this. It was, circuses would get around by train, right? And back in the early days, a lot of these trains were like made of wood, and they had lanterns full of kerosene that lit up the car that they were in. And the train had like derailed, and there was this huge, wreck that happened. A lot of the train cars were blowing up because of the lamps and everything. And like half of the circus performers had died in this tragic event. And afterwards they had to like go through all the bodies and kind of organize them and everything. And they couldn't a lot of times. And a lot of the graves that they mark them in are like, here lies happy, here lies, silly, because they didn't have these guys' real names, because a lot of them were like travelers. You know what I mean? People were running away from home and they were joining the circus, and they were out. Let me look that up. What cemetery it's at.
Look at Donald Trump.
But then it's like, yeah, it's called Showman's Rest, and it's in the Woodlawn Funeral Home and Memorial Park. Can you look up Showman's Rest?
Yeah.
Donald Trump is too scary for this show. But yeah, it was a mass grave though of all these people that like some of them they were able to identify, some not.
What's it called?
Showman's Rest. But yeah, when you go there, there's with the elephant. But pull up on some of those gravestones. Here, this is it. Hagenbeck Wallace Circus Train Wreck, June 22nd, 1918. This was the greatest loss of life in any train wreck relative to circus. 86 souls perished when an empty troop train ran a signal and crashed into the rear of the Hagenbeck Wallace circus train as it was stationary at Ivanhoe Tower, Hammond, Indiana. This group of 56 grave markers are dedicated to unnamed, unclaimed, or unrecognizable men and women that perished in this train wreck and subsequent fire. This grave marker is provided by Circus Historical Society in memory of circus historian Thomas J. Dunwoody. It's wild though. Like, pull up on some of those, unknown man, unknown male. A lot of performers will go there and
Like that tombstone right there.
yeah.
In memory of Showman's League of America, something. That's crazy though.
Yeah, isn't that really nuts?
Oh yeah, look at this one. circus animal trainer. So he used to train the circus animals that would
Well,
go.
that might be a different one.
Different one?
Showman's Rest is like its own thing. I think it's that. I think it's the
That
mark.
one.
I've actually never
The
been
one with
there.
the elephant.
We should make a trip. That'd be cool.
Mm.
Because some cemeteries are fun to explore. Have you ever like done a cemetery tour?
I did a music video at a cemetery one time.
Yeah.
That shit was pretty cool. There was no one there.
There's some cool cemeteries in Chicago. If I can recommend a couple, I would totally recommend going to Graceland Cemetery. Graceland is on Clark Street. It's like just north of Wrigley Field. So there's like a Jewish cemetery, and then there's Graceland Cemetery just north of that. And if you go there, there's a lot of really big, iconic Chicagoans that are buried there. For instance, Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub. Mies van der Rohe, the father of modern architecture, is buried there. Daniel Burnham, the man with the plan to rebuild Chicago. He and his whole family have an island in the cemetery, which is really cool, and you have to access it by bridge. Who else is there? Marshall Field and his family is buried at Graceland Cemetery. They have a lovely mausoleum. It's a cool thing to check out, especially to see these Chicago icons and give them some respect and drop some flowers. And it's a really wild thing to see. But if you get a chance, Graceland Cemetery is a really, really cool cemetery to check out. I live a little bit further north of that. I'm kind of over by Rose Hill Cemetery, which is also a cool cemetery. That one I haven't done too much exploring in as far as like finding historical people that are in there. But I do know that like Oscar Mayer is buried there. And my favorite part about Rose Hill Cemetery is that the outer gates of it was built by the same architect that built the water tower in Chicago, in downtown Chicago. So when you look at it, it's built with the same cut of limestone and everything. It's a beautiful, beautiful cemetery. I would totally suggest you check it out. And when I was there, they had deer running around. I saw a huge alligator snapping turtle. Maybe it was an alligator snapping turtle, but it was a big snapping turtle. But deer that would just like walk right up to you. It's really a cool thing. I like taking my bike through them a lot. It's peaceful.
Nice.
But yeah, cemeteries are cool. I got locked in a cemetery one time, dog. That was fucking freaky.
How'd that happen?
I was being a dumb kid when I was living at home, and I took out my dad's bike too. I was still living at home at this time. I took out my dad's bike, and a lot of times I would just to get out of the house, maybe go smoke some weed in a field somewhere, do some writing, do some stretches or whatever. And I would just like ride around the cemetery in Mount Greenwood because there's a ton of cemeteries out there, and it's safe. There's no cars, there's no people running around. But I got locked in. I got locked into the damn cemetery, and I was like, oh no, like I'm gonna have to like chuck this bike over the fence, or like try to call someone to like catch it or anything. And then I thought back to my youth, and I was like, I remember there was a big hole in a fence when I was a kid. Me and my friends used to sneak through the hole so we could like go do dumb shit as kids, in a cemetery. Sure enough, I like found my way back to that hole, and luckily I was able to get out of it. But scary nonetheless when your sun's going down and you're in a cemetery.
True. I've only done music videos in cemeteries.
They're cool. They're cool. What was the music video for?
It was like some it was like it was one of my buddies. He was he does like old school punk type of music, and so we were just doing a music video at a cemetery there one time.
Cool.
Apparently the St. Louis Cemetery is one of the most haunted cemeteries in the world.
St. Louis, Missouri?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Why is that? What does it say?
Well, let's read here, folks. The cemetery is renowned for being the burial place of Mary LeBeau,
Who's Mary LeBeau? How do I know that name?
the famous voodoo queen of New Orleans. There you go.
Okay.
So apparently, her tomb is a popular site for visitors seeking to pay their respects or leave offerings.
Cool.
So, do you believe in voodoo?
Who do?
You do.
Do I?
Do you
Do what?
believe in voodoo?
I do. I do. I do believe in voodoo.
That was one big cat in that hat scene right there.
Yeah, dog. You remind me of the Babe. No, I believe in that. I believe in all that. I believe that a lot of cultures were in tune with that kind of stuff, but a lot of it has just been kind of washed away in history books, But voodoo, I totally believe in. I mean, you're putting certain powers into certain things, and you're in tune with the universe in a way.
Mhm.
Totally believe it. Do you believe in it?
Kinda. I believe in it as much as I believe in tarot.
Oh, okay. Okay. You don't believe in tarot? Like it's a thing, but yeah.
I believe that there's certain things that could be realistic about all these things. I also believe that we kind of like make these things up in our brains and then we believe them a lot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I like psychological thrillers for that reason, because it doesn't have anything to do with something scary specifically, but it just makes your brain think a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
It activates so that your brain thinks of like these like spooky things or whatever.
Right. It's, the fear is the fear of the unknown of like, I don't know about that. And yeah. Well, let me ask you this then, because you don't necessarily, you say you don't believe in voodoo. You don't really believe in tarot. You were talking about a Ouija board earlier. Do you believe in Ouija boards?
Well, as somebody that's tried Ouija boards before, I don't really. I do believe in the contact after you're dead, right? So like, I feel like ghosts are a real thing, but like, I don't believe there's one specific way of contacting them, such as a Ouija board. I feel like there's many ways that you'll contact them, but you don't even know you're doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you're not trying to do it in the way of like a Ouija board where you're trying to like contact the dead. I feel like when the dead are trying to contact you, that's when it'll happen. I don't feel like you can contact the dead. I feel like the dead will contact you.
Interesting.
Whenever they want to.
Because a scaredy cat would say that. A scaredy cat would say that to say, I don't want to open up this realm. You know what I mean? When we had Heather Hacks on the other day, and she was like, we were talking about witchcraft and opening up realms. Some people don't believe in it, but they say they don't believe in it because they don't want to believe that that is a possibility, that you can open some sort of portal or something. I mean, even like you look at vampires, or you look at the devil. You have to accept it into your life in order for it to be there,
I feel like it's harder for us to make contact than it is for them to make contact with us. You know what I mean? I feel like because if that's the case, then anybody with $12 can make contact with the dead. That's how much a Ouija board costs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. But I think if you had the right, like, contacts in the right setting, I believe in it. I mean, Ouija boards maybe a little less. I don't know. I believe in like even like tarot cards and like astrology. I don't really believe in. I'm like, yeah, like it's all coincidence kind of stuff. But like, dude, like a seance or like a seance or an exorcism. Like, I totally believe in that stuff.
I believe in exorcisms. I don't believe it's the exorcism of a ghost or like a spirit. I just believe it's like the exorcism of like bad habits in your life.
Yeah, yeah.
But I believe in exorcisms, just not the way that most people generally believe in exorcisms.
Yeah.
I believe that exorcisms are just like the getting rid of bad energy from you.
You don't think it's a demon?
It could be. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, to me, these things are just like energy. They're just energy that you either believe in or don't believe in, or they're energy that you allow into your life or don't allow into your life. So once you allow a very bad energy, you kind of need to find a way to
To exorcise the demons
out of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So maybe it is a spirit, though. It could be an evil spirit. But how do you, define spirit?
Define evil.
Define evil. Yeah. I believe in it, though, man. I think there's been so many cases out there that are actual proven. Like there are documented cases where like a kid will be like walking backwards up a wall. Like I totally believe in. Excuse me. I believe in the poltergeist. I believe in all that stuff. I don't want it to happen to me personally. And I don't accept it into my life. But yeah, do you think those people wanted it in their lives? I don't know.
Probably not. Well, they probably believed in it hard enough.
Yeah. That
Probably
kid was probably
believe-
hanging out with his Chucky doll. Chucky's like, you like voodoo?
Bro, maybe that kid was like, maybe he had like Alzheimer's or something. Maybe he had like, what's that thing?
Tourette's?
What's that thing where you hear multiple fucking
Schizophrenia. Yeah.
Maybe he was a schizophrenic and thought
Dog,
that,
he was walking up a wall. He was walking up a wall. That defies gravity.
how do you know he just wasn't seeing that?
Because other people saw it. Other people like witnessed it. They had an exorcist there, and the kid was just going up the wall. I'm telling you, dog. There's some stuff like even the Vatican sends out. Look this up too. This is a proven fact. The Vatican will send people out to perform exorcisms. But do you think the Vatican's gonna want a bunch of common people to know that like the devil's alive and well?
I have a strong opinion about the Vatican, which I'm not going to talk about right now because
We don't believe in censorship. If you want to,
so the Vatican they
full
go
of a bunch
by,
of old men that want to touch little kids.
they go by a completely different rule system. By the way, like their laws and like where are they at in Rome or something like that? They don't go by the same rules that other countries go by. They go by their own sort of rules, which is why a bunch of like fucking weirdo priests decide to move over there once, they get fucking called out on some bullshit,
Do you now here's an interesting follow-up question on that. Is that the separation of church and state is a thing in the United States? I don't know if it's everywhere, but people have that separation. Do you think the Vatican is exempt from that kind of stuff because they have this realm?
They are, but they shouldn't be. So like that's what I'm saying. So
I don't know, dude. If they're working with the spirits,
they go by a completely different set of rules. That like the Vatican is its own little like country pretty much at this point. And which I don't believe it should be. You know what I mean? Like I believe that.
Dude, if they're working with dark magic, I don't want the government involved in it. Would you? Think about that, dude. They're dealing with heaven and hell there. And think about all of the books and all of the like the archives that are stored at the Vatican.
I wouldn't want our government involved in it.
Fair. Very fair. Very fair.
The Italian government, maybe. I don't know. I don't know much about the government.
But, with great power comes great responsibility. And to have that separation from state and religion could be a good thing. I don't know.
Then if it was such a good thing, why don't they have that here in America too?
The Vatican
or like, well, you do understand they like work in like completely different laws. Like their laws are not the same laws as like, let's say like like wherever they're living at, the Italian Rome or whatever, they work under completely different like laws, which
sure, yeah, they're their own like governing state.
Help them from being prosecuted from certain crimes that they commit out in like the regular world.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, yeah, I'm with you. They for sure have. They were still doing the guillotine back in the day, you know. I don't know. But it's a
And I grew up Catholic, so
yeah, same dude. Yeah, but I think it's something that maybe is good to separate church and state, because like, even like, they'll help people out and stuff when like the state ain't gonna do anything about it,
I like Marley's comment right there. It says, "I believe in karma."
Us too, Marley.
I believe in karma as well. If anything, that's the one thing I truly believe in.
Karma. Man, karma is a relaxing thought. Karma on the weekend. Thank you for tuning in, Marley. We appreciate it. It's yeah, spooky stuff, man. Spooky stuff. I think it's good though that they separate it, because think about like even with the Nazis, they were trying to get their hands on a bunch of religious relics, and that you hold a lot of power in that if you hold things that are godly, quote unquote, or if you have something that's like a spell book or whatever, like that's something that like, certain governments can exploit amongst other people. And I don't know if you know this guy named Mussolini, but like the Italian government wasn't always the best either,
And which is what I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like they figured out a way to separate the church from state, so that the people that aren't doing the best in like the Catholic, the religious region of it, they get like hope, you know what I mean? Like they're not getting prosecuted for certain things that they should be getting prosecuted for.
Right.
What you would call it. And then you have super churches, you know what I mean?
Those people are hell sent.
But you know what I mean?
Man.
It's separation from church and state.
I need a private jet so I could spread the Lord's word. Send $5.99 a day.
But think about it. The Pope, like his garments are all made out of gold. Why does he need a gold garment? You know what I mean? Why is his Jeep?
It's the most holy.
But why is Jesus didn't have any of that?
True.
But that's what I'm saying. So like, I don't know. I feel like that's a thing that was made by humans. The separation of state and church, that was made by humans. Sure. And if you have read the Bible before, anything that made by humans is not good. Everything made by quote unquote God is perfect or whatever.
Sure. So I'm with you. I know what you mean, brother. I know what you're saying. And even with like, the Crusades and all that, like you can't like, how are you gonna condone Crusades? It was battle over religious beliefs to wipe out people's cultures in the name of God. Even the conquistadors coming to Central America and up, like searching for El Dorado, that was all in the name of God.
Like, how do you separate cults from like religious? You know what I mean?
You can't, because it's the same thing. By definition, religion is a cult.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
I'm with you. But what's to say other governing bodies aren't cults either?
Oh, they are. They definitely are. They could be. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between one or the other if I was some little kid and you told me, well, you joined this cult, which is a religious cult, or you joined this cult, which is like the blue or red cult. Mm-hmm. Whichever cult you want to join.
Take the blue pill or the red pill. Yeah, I don't know. It is kind of weird. It is a little brainwashy too. I see we got a lot of people viewing today. Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. If you guys want to leave us a comment, let us know where you're tuning in from. It's good to hear from you.
If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube, just do it real quick.
Yeah, subscribe, hit like. Me and Jay go live every Wednesday here at Q4, so tune in.
Every Wednesday.
Wednesday. Why is it spelled that way?
Because that's how our school teachers told us it was spelled.
February spelled that way too. It's a crock of shit. No, man, we've got. Yeah, I don't know. Where were we going on that? We were on a tangent there.
Yeah, I don't know religion.
Religion's kind of spooky though too, because you know they'll pound things in your head like over and over all throughout the years. When it's scary that like a lot of these like wolves in sheep clothing came forth, and it's just like, oh my God, these were the people that you're supposed to like guide us. You know what I mean?
They're here to guide us to hell.
Yeah, right. Because I'm with you, dude.
All
A
these
lot-
goddamn politicians and their goddamn ungodly rules.
Ugh.
God damn it.
I don't know, dude.
Please don't cancel me.
Yeah. But that's the other thing though too, is like the country is based on a lot of Christianity beliefs, you know, one nation under God. You know, look at any of our money, you know, you have some certain religious and Masonic imagery all over it. So who knows what the actual truth is, you know? It's
The politicians rule it. The Vatican rules it. The Freemasons rule it. Who knows, man? It's fucking. I know. All I know is that I don't rule it.
I wish I ruled it. If I ruled the world.
What would your first law be if you ruled the United States of America?
My rule?
Your first law, not rule, law.
Halloween every day. I'd be Jack Skellington. Say, this is Halloween.
Formal wear, Nari costumes.
Yeah, everyone needs to dress up. Everyone needs. No,
You want to dress up to the off? You want to go to the office? You gotta dress formally. And
Yeah.
from now on, that definition means scary.
formal is scary. No, I don't know what mine would be. I don't know. What would yours be?
My favorite one, when I asked this before, was Chris Stone's answer: a giant rat hole.
Giant rat hole.
He said, "A giant rat hole,"
I like it. I'm into it.
and I second that motion.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Rats are scary. I don't like
Rats are scary. The ones in New York are even scarier.
Yeah.
They fucking drag a whole pizza down the subway.
Yeah, they're fucking disgusting. They're just disease ridden. Oh man. So what do you think got you into the horror genre as a kid? Was there anything that stuck out that made you get into the spooky stuff?
Maybe. I don't know, man. I've always been attracted to the spooky stuff. I don't know if there's any one specific thing, but I remember watching what was that movie called? I remember watching the original Exorcism. That shit was wild, man.
How old were you?
Shit, I was like 10.
Oof. That's a
10 or
creepy
11
movie
or
to watch
something
as
like
a
that.
10-year-old. Damn.
That shit was wild, man. I remember, and again, this just goes back to the whole religion thing.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing, man.
Your abuela's like, see, if you don't straighten up, you're going to wind up like that little girl spitting up green pea soup.
If you don't eat all your tortillas, I'm gonna call the priest, and he's gonna do that to you. Whoa.
Or I'll get my sandal.
Or I'll get my extension cord. Or it wasn't the sandal, it was the chancla.
The chancla. Oof. Ouch. No, man, I think scary movies are always something that I think gets kids into it. It's that first initial one where you're like, fuck, that was so scary. And you're scarred for like months. And then afterwards, you're kind of like, that was kind of fun to scare people. And then you're kind of into it more, you know? Because when I was a kid, I was such a little pansy when I was a kid. I mean, I still am as an adult from time to time. But I was so afraid of everything. I remember crying during the Walt Disney like spooky sing along, and it was like the Haunted Mansion, and when the crypt doors creak and the moon, and there was the dancing Mickey head, and you had to sing along. I remember being so scared of those dancing trees because a tree had fallen on my school when I was a kid, when I was in like first grade, and it freaked me out. So I was always afraid of just like trees and like random shit like that. But then I think I had like a turning point when I was like, I got into like Tim Burton-y stuff. I think I was like 3 when Nightmare Before Christmas came out. So like by the time that hit DVD or VHS, I'm dating myself now, kids. Yeah, by the time that hit VHS, you know, I was watching that regularly when I was a kid. So those were always fun. Did you watch Goosebumps as a kid?
Oh, dude, yeah. I used to have them on VHS.
Goosebumps was awesome. Goosebumps is cool because you can go back to it now and you'll see like really young actors before they made it big. Like Ryan Gosling was in a couple episodes. I think Tobey Maguire was in a couple. They were good.
Yeah, my favorite thing was reading the books and then watching the movies. It was like, all right, 'cause we used to have them at like school, like the books would all be available at like the school libraries or like the school fairs. You get, back in my day, we get like little fucking reading tickets, and you accumulated enough reading tickets, you can go exchange them for a book at the school book fair or whatever. And one of my go-to was either Goosebumps or Captain Underpants.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Remember those Captain Underpants books?
Those are great too. The flip action.
Yeah.
That was great.
That was awesome. But
What was your favorite Goosebump?
fuck, man, I forgot what it was called, but it was one that I had on VHS that I would always put on. It was one where they were at the fucking lake or something like that. I forgot what the fuck it was called, but
Was that the one where in the opening they're like, it was like the skeleton that was like grilling?
I think so. Oh, and second to that one was the one where they would it was the one where like there was a monster underneath the sink or something like that. Man, I forgot.
It's been a while since I've seen
Yeah.
those. They're good though. They hold up. I like that. My 2 favorite was the girl who had that like green mask, and she'd put the green mask on, it like locked onto her face, and she's like, "I'm a monster." And then there's that other one where that family goes to that like spooky amusement park.
Oh,
Remember? And then all the
I've seen that
characters are
one.
there.
Yeah.
And they're like, compete in this game. And then they're like, they wind up on like a game show. And then it's like a Jeopardy type thing, or not Jeopardy. It's like a Wheel of Fortune type deal. And they're like, solve the clue. And then the clue is like you are for lunch, or no, we're having them for lunch or something like that. And it's all these monsters like, we're going to eat ya. And they escape narrowly. That's a cool one. That was a good episode. Yeah, Goosebumps was the shit.
Those were cool.
Those were really cool. Oh, man. How about you guys tuning in? Anyone got a favorite Goosebumps episode? Yeah, Goosebumps was cool. Yeah, the horror genre is a fun one. I've got a couple ideas for something I was writing in the past, but we'll see.
I think I mentioned it before on the show. Hereditary is probably one of my favorite psychological thrillers.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it.
It's pretty cool. It's like these 2 brothers, a big brother and a little sister, and little sister just never does anything. Big brother is about to go to a party, and the mom's all like, well, can you take your little sister with you, blah blah blah. Big brother's all like, no, I don't want to, well, what the hell, blah blah. And mom convinces big brother to take little sister to the party with him. He leaves little sister unattended. Turns out little sister had a peanut allergy, so she eats a chocolate bar with peanuts, or so I forgot what it is, but she eats something with peanuts, and so she starts getting the fucking where her like throat starts closing out or whatever. And the big brother comes and finds her choking or whatever, and runs her over to the hospital, going in the car like 200 miles an hour because his little sister's about to die. Little sister decides to open the window and stick her head out the window because she can't breathe, and she thinks that sticking her head out the window is gonna help her. Big brother's going at 200 miles an hour. Right as she sticks her head out the window, there's a fucking pole right there.
Sheesh.
And the car is going at 200 miles an hour, and her head slams into the pole. It just comes clean right off. And so the next scene is just the brother putting the sister in the car, or putting the rest of the body in the car, and they pull up into the driveway, and big brother just goes into the fetal position, just fucking lays there for the rest of the night. Morning comes, the mom wakes up and she goes into the car because that was her car that she let the brother borrow. And then she sees her decapitated daughter just there and just starts screaming, and then that's pretty much the beginning of the movie.
Sheesh. Off to a good start.
It was wild.
Oh man. Is there a movie that like you would say is the scariest that you've ever seen? Like one movie that just really fucked you up as a kid. You're just
I'm
like,
trying to
"Oh,
remember.
sheesh."
I can't remember, man. I don't think so.
What about I was really into Jeepers Creepers. I think the second one, I think there was one scene in the second one that fucking scared the shit out of me. It was the all of them are really good, but the scene that I'm talking about is in Jeepers Creepers 2, where the creature's on top of the bus of the football team, and he's like boom boom, he's knocking on it or whatever, and then he like goes to the back of the bus, like the back door of the bus, and he's like leaning like upside down on it, and then he's going through the kids on the bus, and he's like, you move. And then he like pins down one kid and he goes, and he licks the window like fucking 8 inches. And when I was a kid, that scared the living fuck out of me, dude. I was so scared when I saw that. And like, I was like weirded out to go on like any back roads after that at nighttime. I was like, dude, I don't want this creepy Mothman character flying around trying to nab me.
That's crazy.
You got one that like really sticks out as
no, I remember when
here's a video of your birth, Jay.
Oh, that would scar me for life. I probably wouldn't be here right now. I'd be in therapy. I remember listening to the story of the Ouija board, though, like the legend of the Ouija board or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How like you can get in contact with like human ghosts or whatever after playing this game, and I remember having nightmares about that shit. So like I would go to sleep, and then I would wake up in the middle of the middle of my dream, just playing the Ouija board or whatever. But like a scary ass motherfucking like ghost serial killer would pop up, and that's when I would wake up. And I was like 6 or 7 or 8 or something like that. And I remember my mom, she would just like come running towards where I was, because I was just screaming, like waking up from a nightmare. The fucking Ouija board, bro. That shit fucked me up for a little bit.
I don't even bring that stuff in my house, dude. I don't even.
Crazy enough, a couple of years ago, I bought one.
You did? Burn it, dude. Burn it. You don't want that in your life.
I decided I was gonna conquer my fears.
Yeah?
So funny story. When I got it, and then me and 2 of my homies went to the cemetery to play it. We bought candles and everything. It was quite an experience.
How romantic.
But no, it was me and 2 other homies, and we went to the cemetery and we just lit up some candles, and we got a little stoned before, just to help the lore. But no, it was all right, I guess. I don't think. Well, actually, never mind. I was gonna say I don't think anything bad happened. But after we played it, my homie's grandma died.
Oh, like
I don't know.
the day of?
No, like after we played it, like 2 days later, like we got the news that like his grandma died or whatever. I don't know if it was because we played it. I don't know if it was because whatever. She had already been sick. She was, she lived a really nice life or whatever. But
Yeah. Don't fuck around with it. Fuck around and find out.
it's scary, you know what I mean? After that, I was all like, oh shit.
Right? Like this ain't something to mess around with. Did you do like all the like the Bloody Mary stuff as a kid.
Oh
though.
yeah. Just fucking turn your lights off, go to the mirror, say Bloody Mary 1,000 times or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a creepy thing. It's a creepy thing.
Remember the Candyman?
Oh yeah, I remember Candyman. You know, I was watching this movie. It I cannot. I think so it was a documentary, and it was called Wrinkles the Clown, and Wrinkles the Clown was this character that would dress up like a clown, and he lived in Florida, and he like just posts. It was honestly like a marketing genius scheme. He posted like a photo of his face, his name, and his phone number, and it said like Wrinkles the Clown, call this number, and he would call, and you call and you get his voicemail, and he was like a clown for hire, but he would go out to different people's homes and scare the kids, and the parents would pay him like really good money to do it, right? Like
To scare the kids.
to scare their kids straight, right? And they like made a couple viral videos of like this kid going to bed, and it's like like the Teddy cam watching the kid, and then you see like wrinkles like coming out from underneath the sliding bed, and it became this whole lure around Wrinkles the Clown that like when kids got his number, they're like, oh, let's like call this clown's number. And sometimes you'd call it, and sometimes he'd answer. Other times, you'd just get his voicemail, or he'd call you back and leave you like a crazy message. But a part of the documentary, it was really a fascinating doc, because they were talking about, one, the ethics of that, of like, is that okay to scare your kids that bad? Which I think it may be, you know what I mean? I think it's kind of funny. Just the bad kids, at least. But one of the things that they were talking about was the adolescent lure of horror, where you would do the Bloody Mary thing when you were like at your friends' sleepovers and stuff like that. And they were saying that there are videos online right now. Like, kids are still doing that. Kids are still doing the Bloody Mary thing. There's another one called like some Charlie or whatever. And, but they're saying that kids are now able to summon demonic spirits from what they learn on social media. So if there's like a viral challenge where they'll like say somebody's name, or and then the pen goes flying off, and they'll like record it, and then they'll put it up on YouTube. Some like 13-year-old kid gets millions of views. It's a creepy thing, but it's a truth that, I don't know if it's completely true, but it's what they're saying, is that these kids are able to like tap into this dark energy because of what they're learning through social media. Whether you believe in it or not, I don't know. I think it's fucking weird. I think it's a little scary,
You know what I think is scary, whether you believe it or not?
What's that?
The dark web.
Dark web is scary. Dark web is scary.
It's a bunch of scary shit.
Don't even want to enter it. Don't even want to enter it. Not even gonna humor the troll to get in. I'm not even. Nope.
I've seen like documentaries and shit about that shit. When I was in high school, my homie, he's like a fucking computer programmer right now, but like back in the day, he used to be really like computer tech savvy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were able to get into the dark web. This was like way before like Bitcoin was even a thing. Like, I mean, it was a thing, but it wasn't like a thing. Like, we didn't know that Bitcoin was going to be fucking huge. So we bought $20 worth of Bitcoin.
Little did we know.
You know what I mean? Like, so
fake money? No, I'm gonna go buy this artificial chimp picture.
So what we did with the $20 worth of Bitcoin in like 2012 or something like that, we bought 2 tabs of acid. They got delivered to our house 2 days later.
Dang.
Fucking scary.
Yeah. I mean, that's the crazy thing, is you can get money like that, currency like that. I'm not going to say who it was in my relation to them. My compadre would would go on like go to the store and get those like prepaid Visa cards or whatever, and then he'd buy like, you know, the illegal shit off the internet because there's no trace to it. Then like you got a website, you can get just about anything these days, you know.
Yeah. You know, the way you get into those things is fucking wild. Like, I personally wouldn't know how to do it, but I know you got to get, like, some fucking, these, like, torrents, and then you just got to go to, like, these different, like, servers and whatnot, and it's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, it's a wild thing.
But, yeah, my buddy knew how to do it. We got drugs off it one time.
Yeah.
I didn't even feel like exploring the rest of it because there was some shit, like...
Bro, you could probably get a human hand if you wanted to. If you wanted to.
You can get, like, fucking people for, like, you know, for literally anything.
Yeah. Sheesh.
But yeah, we got it in a little card, and it was glued in between, or like not glued, but like we got 2 tabs of acid with like tape in between the card or 2 cards or something like that.
Yeah. Seal
Fucking
it deal.
wild.
Yeah. Dang. You know, we're almost getting to that time, but I was about to ask to get back on to the horror realm of the topic of, do you believe in Mothman?
Mothra?
Mothman. I do love Mothra. I'm a Mothra fangirl. Mothman. Are you familiar with Mothman?
Who's Mothman?
So, Mothman is a real character. I don't even want to say character. It's a real being that flies around parts of the Midwest and other parts of the world. Have claimed to see Mothman type creatures.
Is that the one that steals little children?
It's not Krampus. kind of close. I don't think there's ever been a confirmed theft from Mothman. But what's interesting about Mothman, and some people tie him to the Jersey Devil, which is another character that, like, there was like many reports of these flying beings living in the United States. But Mothman is like the Midwest devil, Jersey Devil, if you will. And Mothman is this large, like 8 to 9 foot winged creature that's just like very hairy, and he has like these glowing red eyes. And sometimes he just kind of like looks wet, is how some people would describe him. And Mothman has had numerous sightings in the city of Chicago. Many people downtown, like if you look at the Mothman sightings, like if you can Google it if you want, if you don't believe me. Mothman sightings throughout the downtown Chicagoland area. It looks like freaking chicken pox. It's everywhere. And people would claim to see him flying from like rooftop to rooftop. And this was happening in like the early 2010s, and like prior to that, there was even a sighting of Mothman at O'Hare Airport. But yeah, it's this winged creature, maybe humanoid type. People don't really know what it is. Other people claim that it's just like an extremely large owl, which I can understand because owls are really big and their eyes.
I heard
kinda
about
glow.
the sighting in O'Hare Airport a while ago.
Yeah, there were spotters that saw him. He's out there, man. It's I'm telling you, Mothman is a real thing. And people don't know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, is it a demonic thing? Is it an alien life form that's just kind of like doing surveillance? Some other people theorized that Mothman and other winged creatures like that will show up right before a tragic event happens. So like when the Chernobyl incident happened with that power plant that exploded, there were claims of a Mothman type creature like flying around it a couple days prior to it. So again, people don't really know what it is. But there's been a ton of sightings. Let me see if pull up like Mothman sighting locations. Oh yeah, dude. Look up Mothman sighting locations. It's all around the Chicagoland area, even leading up into Wisconsin and down to Indiana. It kind of looks like a flying monkey out of Wizard of Oz, but like 8 feet tall. And there's a statue of him in West Virginia, Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
That statue.
Yeah, that's the Mothman statue. But yeah, I'm looking at this. It's and it's pulled up from Netflix because there was there's an episode of Unsolved Mysteries, I believe hosted by William Shatner, that covers Mothman quite extensively. And it goes through many of these sightings that they got pinpointed on here. But dude, it's wild. I'm looking at it right now. It's 154 sightings plus. And again, like, people don't know what it is. It could be like a creature that was a thing that kind of got exiled to, the forests of the Midwest. People claim that the Jersey Devil was like that it was like something that just kind of like would zip in and out. Some people claim that it's also a shape-shifting creature, kind of like a skinwalker. But people don't really know. It's just an unsolved mystery through the Midwest.
There's some sightings.
Yeah, is that the pinpointed? Mm-hmm. That's nuts, isn't it? It's all around. And if you're ever able to get, you viewers out there, if you're ever able to like get a better view of that, zoom into the Chicago one, because it's all over downtown. Around the airports, you'll find it everywhere.
Here's a better one. Sheesh.
Isn't that nuts?
That's all Mothman sightings.
And like they're around, man. Like like I said, 150 something of them. But there have been claims in history that that there have been winged creatures like this. I was on a really big kick with the Jersey Devil many years ago, and there was this story, and it was written down. It's in record that a New Jersey police officer like shot at this like winged creature that was like flying over, and he's like, it was large enough to be a human, but like too large to be a bird. And he like had shot at it, and he said this thing just like groaned. It was like, and like flew off. In other reports, if you want, don't quote me on the year, but I want to say it was like late 1800s, early 1900s. There was a Jersey Devil sighting, and they shot it with a cannon. And there were all these people that reported being there, and this thing just took a cannonball to the belly and let out like and it rang through the whole town. But they never caught the thing, So there have been flying creatures in history's past. So I know you want to talk about Man Bear Pig. You love your Man Bear Pig.
I had to, bro. You can't name mythical creatures without talking about Man Bear Pig.
Obviously fictitious. Obviously.
Well,
but like dragons, do you think dragons were real but just mistaken for dinosaurs? Because some dinosaurs did fly, right? I think it might be ignorant to say they weren't,
Dinosaurs did fly.
So did dragons.
So did dragons. Let's see. Well, not the Man Bear Pig.
We need to bring that back.
Look at this little guy. That little tiny dragon. That little man bear.
Dragons were so real. Oh, what am I playing here? Shrink. But you know, it's another really interesting. If you want to talk about fictitious tales that were rooted in a lot of truth, was vampires. Have you ever heard about the like the origins of what vampires were?
The Dracula story.
So, well, there's the the Dracula story. There's Vlad the Impaler, which all true stories of him, which he probably might have been a vampire. I think a lot of people were into that, but a lot of vampire folklore started because people were digging up their relatives' old bodies, and then they would find them like pale white. Their nails would continue to grow. So like the idea of the vampire was not so Twilight sparkles and glitter, you know. It was more Nosferatu type of an image, and a lot of it was just like deceased relatives that like still had grievances with people on Earth. So they would say like, oh, like crazy Uncle Tim, like he is going to come back as a vampire because he like was like kind of a loose cannon, and he would like come back and like haunt the family. And that was kind of a thing throughout a lot of countries throughout, like, I think Eastern Europe, where they believed that was a thing. Not to mention too, a lot of people were buried while they were alive back in the day.
Yeah, they used to put little bells on people's graves in case they accidentally buried them while they were still alive.
Yeah.
So every once in a while you hear a little bell.
Can you imagine
how
that?
fucked up that is? You wake up and you're like buried 6 feet under. You can't even fucking yell or scream or nothing because nobody will fucking hear you.
And imagine if you did. Imagine if you did get out. You know, like you're crawling out of the ground like a zombie movie. People are going to say some things.
They'll probably.
People are going to say some things.
People who are unaware are probably going to be like, oh shit, this guy's coming back from the dead.
Like a vampire, kill him.
Whoa. Psh. Is that where everything started?
Probably. Like old Sloppy Joe just didn't die all the way, but he got out.
Oh, Sleepy Joe.
Old Sleepy Joe. Oh man. Do you think I think vampires are still a thing. I mean, there's like vampire culture in Louisiana. There's I bet there's vampires living here in Chicago.
The vampire Lestat.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, you ever seen Queen of the Damned?
I don't think so.
Oh man, it was like an early 2000s movie, I believe. It was just about just a generic vampire story, the vampire Lestat, and how he fucking just lived 3,000 years or something like that.
Whoa.
But it was, for those of you metal fans out there, Queen of the Damned has a lot of cool soundtracks from like Korn, Disturbed, and like Static X, a bunch of other cool metal bands.
Cool. I'll have to check it out.
It's a very old school movie.
I think that's the cool thing about being a vampire, though, is you being alive for so many years. You know what I mean? Like, people always ask, like, well, how did like the vampire get all the money and like to like build his castle? And it's like, dude, if you're alive for that long, you can rack up some money pretty quickly. If you're immortal, you know what I mean? You can rob a bank, you can get shot. It ain't gonna bother you. You go home and heal yourself. You know,
You can invest in the stock market.
invest in the stock market at a young age. Yeah.
Even if
Like-
you're, you know what I mean? Even if you're 70 years old, you live to like 1,000, so you can still.
Like if somebody told me that there was a vampire living at the top of like any major building in Chicago, I'd be like, I know they do. You know, I don't think I'd bat an eye. I think I would just know. I'd keep my distance because I don't want to get caught by a vampire. I don't even want to be their familiar. Unless it's Svengoolie, I'd be his familiar. But most of the time, probably not.
Berwin.
Erwin.
Should have brought the Berber chickens.
Next show. Next show, I'll bring the chickens. Hey, we got pumpkins here, though. Wish I had a... You know that the jack-o'-lantern got started in the land of my people?
Whoa.
Well, it's my mother's father's people. But the jack-o'-lantern is an Irish tradition.
The Celtics.
The Celtics, that's right. There was a guy named Jack. I think his name was Stingy Jack, actually. And I forgot how the actual story goes, but he like made a deal with the devil and he was able to like leave hell. Or no, what was it? He had to like go to hell. I think someone told him to go to hell and he's like, I will go to hell. And I'll bring back a coal with me too. And he hollowed out a turnip and his turnip was the original jack-o'-lantern that he took a coal from hell, put it in the turnip and then brought it back as his like guiding light. So back in the day, we were talking earlier about pagan cultures and stuff like that. They would do stuff like that and have these like traditional folklore characters. But when you would see the jack-o'-lantern, you'd see Stingy Jack coming through. You better look out because it was a spirit coming back for you. But yeah, it started Irish. Jack-o'-lantern, right? It's Irish. It's right under your nose the whole time.
Like O'Malley.
Like O'Malley. That's right. Jack-o'-lantern. Jack of the Lantern.
Or what's another Irish name?
Mick.
Patrick.
Sean. If I had $1 for every Patrick or Sean I knew.
Yo, my ex-boss is Patrick.
Patrick. What does that make you, SpongeBob?
Yeah, pretty much. That'd make him Mr. Krabs.
That would make him Mr. Krabs. Oh. Well, what do you say? Do you think we should wrap this up? I think we've been going for about 2.5 hours here.
I think our followers had enough of us today.
I'd say so. Marley, thanks for keeping up with us throughout the night. We appreciate it. She's saying that Anne Rice had the best vampire books.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a cool story about vampire books and books in general of horror descent. I was reading into this guy named Lord Byron, and Lord Byron was this. He was kind of like he liked to think of himself as a romantic, but he was kind of like just a weird dude, and he would invite people to his chateau, and he invited it was him and like 4 of his friends. But one of the people that was there was Mary Shelley. Are you familiar with who Mary Shelley is?
Sounds familiar.
Mary Shelley wrote the original Frankenstein. She came up with the idea at Lord Byron's place because they had a competition when they were living there. They were like, let's all go to different wings of this castle and like write up the craziest story you can come up with. So he came up with the Dracula idea, and Mary Shelley came up with Frankenstein. So it's a weird thing to think that those 2 original characters were made in the same weekend off of some like crazy absinthe bender, because they were doing that stuff too. They were doing absinthe and all sorts of hallucinogenics. And Lord Byron is a weird dude. I think he had a clubbed foot too, and he kind of just like hobbled around and just like had crazy
like
orgies.
A real pimp.
Yeah, dog. He probably. Now that you say it like that, like he probably did have a fur coat and a hat with feathers in it and a gimp on it.
Just walking around with a limp.
But I think it was like infected and gross. It was like elephantitis in his foot or something.
Gross.
Yeah. But that's why Dracula, I think, was such a romantic, because he kind of wrote it as a hopeless romantic. But yeah, no, if you get a chance, read into that guy. He's a crazy dude, but fun horror origins.
Horror orgies.
Horror orgies.
Orgies.
Horror, jeez.
Orgies. Berwin.
There's I know we keep rattling here. There's a really good show called The Fall of the House of Usher, and it's based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like Usher the pop star.
No, not Usher. I do like Usher though. Fall of the House of Usher. And if every episode follows different characters in this family and their like, you know, their ties to like the family wealth and then like the afterlife, and they're like talking. The dad of the family is like talking to all of his like dead children throughout the show. It's really, really good. Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, voice of Joker. He does a lot of horror stuff as well. He was actually the voice of the latest Chucky. Mark Hamill plays like the family helper, the family lawyer in it. But I guess where I'm trying to get at, you were talking about horror orgies. There's this crazy scene in there where was it The Fall of the House of Usher, which was the Edgar Allan Poe work, where there was the disease outbreak that came into town, and all these people like stayed at this one house, and then there was like a person with like a masquerade mask who was like there to like warn them that like, you know, that they were all going to get the plague or whatever. I believe it was that story that inspired this episode, but there's like this crazy but they make all of the works like it's like a nod to the Edgar Allan Poe, but it's like set in like modern day, you know. And one of the scenes is like that, but there's like this like crazy wild like orgy party, and it's like, you know, techno rave music, and all these people are like, you know, getting it on. They're about to have this orgy, and they go to turn the water on in the building to like the sprinklers to like, so all these people are like wet and wild, but there's like poison in all of the sprinklers.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so when they turn it on, it just like kills all these people that are in the party. It's wild. It's a really, really good show. It's on Netflix, I believe. Fall of the House of Usher. It's long, but it's fucking good. It's so good.
Who's the dude that recently died? The fucking voice of fucking
James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader and Mufasa.
Fucking crazy, man.
R.I.P. James Earl Jones. What do you think your favorite role of his was?
Probably Darth Vader.
Vader was good. I really liked him in The Sandlot, where he played the blind baseball player.
True.
He was in Field of Dreams
Yeah,
too.
he had a bunch of other roles too.
He was good. Coming to America with Eddie Murphy, I think he was in that. James Earl Jones, what a guy. Well, R.I.P. James Earl Jones. Well, do we end it on a sad note?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess we got to go home sometime. But that was a fun show. I think we got a lot of really fun stuff that we talked about. I hope everyone who was listening enjoyed the conversations, and thank you guys. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Marley, for tuning in. We appreciate the feedback.
It's the start of spooky season, so
Start of spooky season.
tune in.
I was just at Michael's the other day, and all the Halloween stuff is out. You go to the dollar stores, they're all out. I'm ready for it. I love this shit. I'm all about it. So, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. Stick around. Every Wednesday we do a live show. Yeah, we'd love to see you guys tuning in. Again, thank you, Marley. Good night, Marley. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we hope you all have a wonderful spooky season. Again, like we said in the very beginning of the episode, I think it's important to know about spooky season and celebrate it in a way that, you know, it's important to celebrate life and death. It's something that we're all given, and whether you like it or not, it's coming for you. Some point the Grim Reaper is going to come for you, and
You can either be scared about it or go at it head on and be like, fuck it, I lived a good life. I'm
Yeah.
ready for this.
like make a living will. You know what I mean? Include us in it too while you're at it.
Hawkwinds will take whatever we can get.
We'll take it. We'll take it. No, but sincerely, be safe out there. Be safe. Be responsible. Don't hop in any Ubers that you don't know the person, who they are.
Especially if you're a male between your late 20s and early 30s.
Oh, gulp. No, but be safe out there. Have fun this Halloween season. Give the kids some candy, or you'll for sure get tricked. And we got any other last words for the folks?
Stay safe out there.
Be safe.
It's a scary world.
It's a scary world out there. Be
But,
good.
You know, you got the power to make it unscary.
Carry a flashlight.
Buy
Not a
gun.
flashlight, Jay. A flashlight. So, as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Jack Dwyer.
And I'm Jay Smooth.
Thanks for tuning in to Hawk Wins Radio
Peace.
Picture Show.